Before I begin to explain the true concept of the multiplicity of universes, or the multiplicity of worlds, I must say something. That human knowledge, even knowledge of the self-evident, resulted from eating from the tree of knowledge. This tree in particular does not mean the tree that you know in the familiar concept, such as the peach tree or the olive tree, for example, or other trees that grow in reality. This esoteric concept about the tree of knowledge I will explain specifically. So my knowledge of these things only came from eating from that tree, the tree of knowledge. So if you cannot comprehend these ideas, then you still have not eaten from the tree of knowledge at the higher level. The universe and everything in it that we see with our eyes, and everything that can be measured by technological devices, or by our five senses, whether by sight, touch, smell, hearing, or taste, has no center or limits. Where is the center of the universe, and where do its boundaries end? These two questions are in themselves wrong, because there is no center or boundary to this visible universe. The concept of infinity becomes easy for the human mind to tame and fully comprehend, just as it is when we explain the true concept of consciousness. If we ask the question, what is definition of consciousness, and where does it originate? The mind does not originate primarily from the brain, nor is it confined to the body, and neither is consciousness, which is part of the mind. If you look at reality with a logical view, only without bias towards your desires and whims, and do not see only what you want to see, knowing the nature and essence of a thing is sufficient and replaces all the in-depth studies that you may have. For example, when we know that thoughts are essentially electrical signals, which is the same thing that animals and insects share. This is enough, and there is no need for us to delve into it more deeply, because it will certainly lead us to studies in science that are mostly useless and distance us from true knowledge. Therefore, we must ask the question that will arise automatically from this sufficiency, which is, if the nature of consciousness is electrical signals, then why don't we see animals and insects inventing and discovering science as we humans do? The answer, according to logic, points to one thing. Consciousness is not generated from the brain nor from within the body, nor from a material source. Rather, it is generated from beyond matter, from a world that cannot be described in words. What cannot be described in words means that it lies outside our material world. These are metaphysical realities, and describing them with words loses their meaning and is considered a poor translation of those realities. The mind represents everything you see and everything you do not see. The mind is existence itself, and the universe is nothing but a special state of infinite existence, just as the universe. And what it contains is the mind in one of its embodied states. The mind consists of two parts, consciousness and the subconscious. The subconscious is an unlimited memory that is possessed by all beings, whether inanimate or living. The atom and its components, energy, and all its forms, the tree, the stone, the chair, everything around you, has a subconscious that stores all the events that pass through it, and regenerated from a new role and scene as if it were a rebroadcast movie. Here it will occur to us that all our actions and every movement and deed that we have done since we were in the womb until the last day of our lives in this visible world are recorded and are never forgotten. Everyone will be surprised by what I've said so far regarding the definition of the mind in general and the subconscious mind in particular. Even religious people will be surprised by my words, even though they will be the most accepting of them, because they are similar to some of their religious beliefs. There are those who will feel that this knowledge links science and religion, even though people previously believed they were separate from one another, if we ever define them properly. The second part of the mind is consciousness. This consciousness is possessed only by humans, along with the unconscious, and it is what distinguishes them from all other creatures. This consciousness is what discovers, invents, and gives humans the flexibility to think and choose some of their actions. However, the role of consciousness does not end at this point, because it is considered the main thing in this entire existence. And with it, we will understand what it means for humans to be the center of existence. Before I begin to explain this matter so that it is not taken in a wrong sense, and misunderstood as are the rest of the symbolic beliefs and concepts that refer to deeper matters and are misunderstood by the common people, I must clarify that there is a difference between existence and the universe. Existence is infinite worlds connected to each other, and the universe, the visible world, is just a special case of this existence and of those worlds. The universe can be likened to a speck of dust in this existence. Our universe was once just a metaphysical world, then emerged and embodied in its state, that we perceive through our five senses, which are just devices that capture the slightest vibration of the vibrations of this existence. Let us liken existence to vibrations, and so is consciousness. But I defined in a previous video in a preliminary manner that if we want to represent consciousness and express it mathematically and geometrically, we represent it in the form of infinitely many levels, each level of infinite size. Here we come to note that there are infinities of infinities in size. And this is what the mathematician Georg Cantor proved in set theory, that all infinite sets and every set of infinite size are not the same amount. This idea in itself reached the true concept of infinity, and the concept of infinities in mathematics. And with this concept, infinity no longer poses a challenge to the human mind, as it was previously believed. Set theory can be applied to prove concepts that cannot be imagined, and proven by science through experimentation. Concepts about the origin of the universe, and our origins as multidimensional human beings. I will explain further why there are multiple types of infinities in size and quantity. The reason is due to the multiplicity of the nature and essence of each level of consciousness, which has an infinite size, and thus the multiplicity of the nature and essence of all infinity. Through consciousness, this universe and everything in it is created. Through consciousness, anything is embodied and created. This thing, before its creation, was a pure idea. The universe and all solid matter before it was embodied was an idea. This idea was condensed by consciousness infinitely within limits, and contained in a radius small enough to become elementary material particles, such as electron particles. This is embodiment, and this is the origin of matter. This means that the basic law in physics called the law of conservation of matter, which says, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It is completely wrong, because matter and energy are created from nothing, at every moment in time, and they are also destroyed and vanished at every moment in time. From here we will enter into the real concept of the black hole, as the scientific concept around it is a wrong concept. Scientists think that the black hole is something that can be captured, measured, and its edges can be seen, and it can also be photographed, while all of these beliefs are wrong. The idea of the black hole emerged from the solution of the equation of general relativity, which resulted in a solution according to an equation that calculates its radius. This solution states that the black hole is produced by the collapse of giant stars, where they are compressed within a radius small enough by the force of their gravity to become a black hole, so the density of the mass of the black hole becomes infinite. According to them, all known physical laws collapse inside the black hole, because physics does not deal with the concept of infinity. So it has remained intractable for scientists in experimental reality. But the concept of black holes doesn't take its proper meaning in this way. I'll keep the same term black hole, maintain the same equation that calculates its radius, but completely change its definition. What is a black hole? And what is its relationship to what is now called dark matter? Black holes are a two-dimensional universe that is folded into our universe, so that these black holes are the main reason for the generation of the force of gravity, and not as explained by general relativity as a mere curvature of space-time. We will gradually discover how this is. These black holes are present at the center of every object in the universe, whether small or large, like a black hole at the center of galaxies. As soon as the object is divided into two or more halves, the black hole that was in the center of the object will automatically disappear and appear in the place of the other objects that were divided from that object immediately. This is exactly like a magnet. When we divide it into two halves, as two other poles automatically appear for each half, meaning that there is no single pole magnet in nature. Likewise, the objects in the universe. There is no object in the universe without a black hole at its center. This idea about the existence of a black hole at the center of every object should be taken with caution by those people whose thinking is limited to imagining only any material embodied thing, because this idea must be understood in its essence. These black holes cannot be seen or measured as we measure matter in our universe, but rather exist in other dimensions as they are a two-dimensional universe in themselves. Our universe is a holographic universe. That works by projecting an image from one universe into another universe, meaning that black holes express a miniature image of our universe and everything in it, including us, meaning everything is imprinted in those holes. There is also a very important thing that science ignores today, which is the magnetic field that originates from the center of planets and stars, such as the magnetic field of the Earth and the Sun, which is generated by these black holes as it exits from one side and enters the other side of them, and not from the magma in its center, as they say. This means that every body in the universe generates a magnetic field that surrounds it, just like the magnetic field that is generated from the planet Earth and surrounds it, because it is a property that exists in any body in the universe. This idea unites all forces in the universe, between the force of gravity, the electromagnetic force, and others. You notice how ideas began to unify with each other, to give a more comprehensive and broader picture of our universe, and the solution to all its mysteries. So the idea here is to unify all ideas and concepts into one idea, whether it is your idea, whatever that idea may be, or an idea that you see as colored with a scientific, religious, or other hue. I will continue the explanation in other videos. Remember that this knowledge that I am explaining is not optional for you to know, but rather it is necessary for you to know it, a necessity, to escape this trap that humanity is in this age. Salvation from the traps of great ignorance and from the traps of this civilization died under the name of science and technology.